Oh my gosh, we're back. It's that time. Do I even remember how to do this? I think it's this one. I think it's this one right here. That's the one that gets us started. Is that it? Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
It is so good to see you. And I've got to turn the volume up on those things. My name is Jeff Fritz. And today is June 2nd, 2025. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing there, chat room? It has been a month. Thank you. Thank you for joining me right here, right off the top, getting things started. I really appreciate it. I peeked in for a quick episode about 2 weeks ago. There were a lot of questions. A lot of folks were concerned about me, about some of my colleagues, around the Microsoft layoffs that happened. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll dive into a little bit of what's been going on over the past month. Thank you so much for tuning back in. I really appreciate it. Let me say hello to you out there. TMK, hello, good to see you. Null Sheffo with a big wave. Thank you so much, friends. Mythin with a resub, 44 months. Good to have me back. Thank you. Appreciate that very much, Mythin. DJ Deepbacks with the resub.
Deep just resubscribed for 11 months. Big bang greetings to you, Jeff, and chat smile.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the resub. It's great to see you. Digital Dummy, it's been a while. Yeah, it has. And I'm looking forward to writing some code and diving into things here. It's been quite the month, let me tell you. How you doing there? CTI Geek, good morning to you in Virginia. I spent last week in Virginia and had a great time. I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. You like the hat? You like the hat? I got that from our GitHub friends, the Copilot logo up there. Yeah, I thought that was a good one to get things started with. Pulses Digital, hello, hello, hello. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in over there on YouTube. V-Flow, hello to you in Vienna. CTI Geek with the resub.
Just resubscribed for 25 months.
Gonna run, check the hat there. Svekos with the resub.
Svekos just resubscribed for 17 months. Great that you are back, smile.
Thank you. And unfortunately, it looks like our AI is, no, that's not right. It is not a black skull. Dear Lord, that's not right. That's not right. No, it's the GitHub Copilot logo. We're going to have to do something about that. We're going to have to do something about that. Let me get some music playing in the background here, and we'll talk about a couple things that have been going on and catch up on a couple topics. Let me go with the Stream Beats Synthwave playlist. Look at this.
Skies are 971.
With the resub, thank you so much. As Kaiser 971, thank you so much. We're hitting a bunch of resubs here to get things started. I guess that's what happens when you're off for a month. So, but my subscriber count is down, but I see. Thank you everybody for resubscribing. I'm gonna get the music playing in the background. Oh my gosh! And PowerShell Freak.
PowerShell_Freak just gifted 5 subs.
5 gift subs into the channel. Thank you so much. My goodness, that is fantastic. Sure, Bob, Joystick Nick, Fat Belly Matt Kelly, Adam 1770, Multiplexer 8. Congratulations, you got gift subscriptions from our friend PowerShell Freak, and we're on to level 3 of a hype train. Oh my gosh, we might break a record here. Look at this. I'm going to get some music playing in the background here. This is called Just Jump In. This is from the Stream Beats Synthwave playlist. Big thanks to Harris Heller and his team of creators for putting this music together that we're listening to today.
PowerShell_Freak
you
just
weren't
resubscribed for 64 months.
Thank you so much for that. My goodness. The love here this morning to get things started. Thank you. And McNets. Oh my gosh.
Just resubscribed for 21 months. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, it's Anthony Simon. Hello. Before starting work, thank you. Anthony does a fantastic job writing about .NET Aspire. And we're going to be talking about .NET Aspire. We're going to write some code with it. I want to show you the demo that I delivered with Playwright. Not just Anthony, but all of you out there. That I delivered about .NET Aspire with Playwright at Microsoft Build. Unfortunately, something happened and the video hasn't been posted yet. I'm trying to figure out what happened there, but regardless, I'm going to show you that content here live on stream and allow you to ask questions and all of those interactive things that we can do here that we're not able to do at a big event like Microsoft Build. So thank you so much for the resubs. Really appreciate all of that. That's just great. Wow. Okay. So 2 weeks ago we talked about the layoffs at Microsoft. And they caught us by surprise and they didn't catch us by surprise. Let me explain. There was a leak to the press from evidently someone in the executive ranks at Microsoft who let the press know, hey, we're going to be laying off a lot of folks in a few months. Didn't know exactly when, didn't say exactly when. So we all knew that this was coming. Oh my gosh, Josh! C# Josh.
Sharp Josh just resubscribed for 63 months.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the support from everybody. It means a lot. Thank you. Oh my gosh, and Blazer Mr. Magoo with the 82 months. 82!
Blazer Mr. Magoo just resubscribed for 82 months. New hat man.
Oh, there's more to be said about the hats. We'll talk about that as well. Oh my goodness. We're getting quite the list of things to talk about. So, we knew the layoff was coming. Everybody knew the layoff was coming. It doesn't know what this hat is. I'm gonna have to find a new model to use because it doesn't know what the GitHub Copilot logo is. So we knew the layoff was coming. It caught us by surprise, not in that it happened, but the scope and the seemingly random nature at which people were selected to be dismissed. Hey, Wise Otter!
W1 Ciotta just resubscribed for 22 months. C#, this C# hats, welcome back.
Thank you. We've got 45 seconds to finish a level 3 hype train. We're at 80% there. That is fantastic. Wow. Wait, I don't think we've ever gotten too far into level 4 of a hype train. So that means a lot. Thank you. Really appreciate the support. So the seemingly random nature of the dismissals is what struck many of us. And it appears, and unfortunately, because of privacy concerns and regulations at around the world, various countries and locales, they're not allowed to tell us who they laid off. Like, okay, what do we need to cover for? You know, whose job is missing now? What task? What project is no longer being supported that we need to cover for and fill in the gaps on? Oh my goodness! Wise Otter.
W1 just gifted 6 subs.
6 gift subs into the channel. Just missed the hype train. But Null Sheffo, Xbox One Online, The Welsh Cabagan, Ice Cream Stick Model, Grumpy Hunter, and Grandiris Live, you got gift subscriptions from our friend Wise Otter. Thank you so much. That is phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you for that support. If people know they got fired, they might damage their company first. It's not even that. Hey, Nalian with 2 years, 24 months.
Just resubscribed for 24 months.
Thank you. Folks were cut off from various access that they had very quickly. So there wasn't too much risk of that. It was a question of the folks that remain at Microsoft. We don't know what projects, what tasks we need to fill in for. What do we need to cover for? it hasn't been made entirely clear to us yet. We're told there's a reorganization that's coming here in June. No hints to that yet. No schedule items sent out yet. And when reorganizations come in the organization, it's typically a scary thing. It's not something that folks look forward to because it comes without warning and without hints as to how your job is going to change. It just happens, and you either accept the change or you quit. I've been fortunate that the number of reorganizations that I've been involved in is really limited to 1, 2 in my career with Microsoft. So to be clear and transparent about those things, it's been a good 8-9 years since I've been part of a reorganization. Robson Previato, 13 months with us.
Robson Previato just resubscribed for 13 months.
Thank you.
Good morning, mister.
Really appreciate that. So when we talk about these things happening, it's very not just distracting, but demoralizing. The rank and file folks who aren't aware of these things happening, it particularly things that aren't metric aligned. There were layoffs that happened back in January, February that were aligned to metrics, and you know what? There were low performers that they decided to let go. And they said, we drew a line at this metric, and those folks below were let go. I get it. That's something that we can understand. We have goals, we have knowledge that we can go after and say, if I do these things, I will maintain my job. But when it wasn't just entire projects, it was 2 or 3 people on this project were let go. Not the entire project team, but 2 or 3 people. Hey, here was an experimental project and thing. Well, you know what? That isn't doing what we want. It just laid off the entire project team. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 people. It was several dozen. And those types of things, it's difficult for the folks that are being laid off because they were just doing their job. But then it's difficult for us, the folks that are left behind, because how do I know I'm doing the right thing to ensure that I still have a job in the future? And that's difficult. Is the decision somehow related to AI, asks McNetz. I need to be careful what I say. What's been reported to the press is that they're changing up the skill sets in the organization to make sure that we better support the new market and product lines that Microsoft is targeting. Something like that is what they're saying. That's fine. The question then to internally to our leadership, to our managers and their managers is, okay, how do we refocus our skills so that we are on that path of the things that the company wants to move forward on? And that's a very fair question. I'm happy to learn new skills, new techniques, new products, new projects. You've seen me learn and do these new things on stream. We've pivoted from using MVC to Razor Pages to Blazor to Azure Functions and Azure Container Apps, now .NET Aspire, using Copilot and learning about all these things. That's fantastic. I'm always excited to learn about new technologies and try new things and see how they apply to our projects and our tasks here. Thank you, Digital Theories, for the follow. So, and I think that's something that all of us as technologists can embrace. The one constant in this industry is change. Give me an opportunity to learn and embrace that change, and I will deliver for you. No questions asked. When that opportunity isn't given, and there is no notice, that's when it's disheartening. That's when it's disappointing. And I don't mind expressing that disappointment in the leadership that made decisions like this without giving that opportunity. you clearly had a very good team that delivered amazing financial results. So why not give them the opportunity to retrain, refocus, because they did so well for you, to do the next thing? And that's what's difficult to understand. And they're never going to explain that. But that's a decision level that, quite frankly, folks made, and they're going to save how many hundreds of millions of dollars in salary and benefits at the end of this fiscal year. The Microsoft fiscal year ends at the end of June. Ends going into June. And ended in May, I think. I forget how it works. So it's difficult. If we don't recycle our knowledge, we fall behind. Absolutely, Robson. Totally right. Sucks to hear about the firing, says Ritter Rasmus. Hope we're all holding up okay. Quite frankly, we're not. And this was called out by the press. I don't need to hide or be careful talking about this. The press called this out. Microsoft employees at Microsoft Build were not exactly peppy and happy. And it was obvious from the pictures that were posted from the Microsoft Build attendee party. Nobody was there. These are things that were made public. I'm not giving any insider insight into these, but yeah, the employees were depressed. It was not an easy event. This was probably one of the hardest events that I've ever worked. There was significant pressure on the subject matter experts, the presenters, the content owners going into Microsoft Build. It was the change, the layoff happening a week before, while we were under deadlines to deliver product updates, product documentation, samples, and content for Microsoft Build, was not good for the mental health of our organization. Point blank. And many folks have asked this question. This isn't looking out for the best interests of your employees. We'll see how this evolves over the next few weeks. So, the last economics minister of Germany would say, "You're not fired, you're just working somewhere else." Oh, DJ Deepex, you're right. You're right. And look, the organization did a fantastic job giving worthwhile severance and compensation to the folks that were dismissed. I'll applaud them for giving that. What's my today plan? So I want to go over and show a little bit of how .NET Aspire and Playwright work together. I wrote and I spent a lot of time discovering, planning, and working on this demo where I showed Playwright working with Aspire. And the content's gone missing. It's not available on the Build website. I'm trying to figure out where it went, what we can do to rehash, re-record, and get it back into the mix. However, it's my content. I can represent it wherever I want and however I want, so I'm going to represent that here, and we'll talk about it and go through it.
2005 just resubscribed for 84 months. Hope
84
all your
months,
demos
thank
worked
you.
at Build.
They did. Not just did my demos all work, my demos, my workshops. I delivered 6 sessions at Build. That's a lot. That's a lot across 3 days. We got through it, and we'll see what happens here. Quite frankly, only two of my sessions were recorded. One where I was discussing vibe coding right after one of the keynotes. I'm not too thrilled with how that one turned out. And then the demo session where I did this Aspire Playwright demo that I took a little bit of what we were doing with SharpSide, refactored it, rebuilt it, wired it in closer to .NET Aspire, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I'm disappointed that the video seems to be lost somewhere. It lost in the shuffle. I'm not sure where it got to. So, the demo sessions that were delivered at Build, and why I think it's more valuable that I deliver this here, the demo sessions at Build were only 15 minutes long. They were lightning talks. No time for questions, no time for interactivity, no time for feedback, for pausing. It was, let's go through, get the demos, and move on. We're going to talk about that and walk through that here. And you'll be able to ask questions and, of course, go through that. And I'm going to give you all the source code and resources that I used during the event. Totally derailed the event. Yes, it did, CTI Geek. And like I said, the press noticed. And several of them commented on it. So my demos all worked, Mots. And my workshop content, that worked great. I'm really happy with how my content went, but I think we can do a better job delivering it. And I think this is a better platform for delivering it and getting it in the hands of more people. 6 sessions in 3 days. Yeah. Hey, Angry Ginger Dad. It was over too fast. You were there and you missed a few shots to ask the speaker some stuff. I totally agree. And kudos to the build planning team for getting so much content into the mix. Having so many tracks running simultaneously, that's a good thing. That was a great thing. We got back to developer content there. Love it. It's a waste of time and, of course, money paying for 15-minute sessions. I kind of agree with you, McNats. I kind of agree with you. That felt like filler to me. Like, oh, we don't want to pay for extra rooms over here, so we're just going to set up 2 more stages on the demo floor and let people deliver demos there. And it's like, okay. And quite frankly, some of the folks that were delivering those 15-minute sessions on the demo floor were not practiced speakers, were not practiced public speakers, and had a hard time. That happens. Folks, everybody's got to learn at some point. But it was it was a good opportunity to try and get into the mix some other content that we wanted to be part of the event. However, they didn't have enough space to put into full hour-long sessions during the event. And then, oh my gosh, the protesters. Oh my gosh. You love the recorded stuff, still have 4 to 5 hours of VODs. So, Angry Ginger Dad, I spent a good 2-3 hours yesterday watching content at double speed on YouTube. Frank!
Bushero's just resubscribed for 42 months.
42 months. Thank you so much, my friend. That means a lot for the resub. Thank you. Thank you so much. Do I have a link to the event? build.microsoft.com. So I watched a bunch of the content at double speed and even skipped through a bunch of stuff where it was slides and stuff where they're talking and okay, I know this content. Come on, move on. Get to the meat and potatoes of this. But when I look at the content, and particularly keynote content, company always say Deepak's shut up on stage. Yeah, that is a hard one. Yeah. So what I noticed and what I'm feeling in the context of we laid people off, Microsoft Build, vacation for a week. In that context and catching up on Build content, I think I need to spend more time learning and becoming an expert with TypeScript. The amount of TypeScript content at the event was amazing, breathtaking. There was a lot of .NET content at the event. Marcus, thank you.
Just resubscribed for 34 months.
Thank you so much. 34 months with us. But there was, when they were introducing new products, during the announcements, during the keynote, during the in-depth sessions, there was a significant preference for TypeScript to show the new AI tools, new AI features, new capabilities. I think I need to spend more time leveling up my TypeScript skills. I know enough TypeScript to be dangerous. I can read it. I know how it works. But I think I need to spend more time learning TypeScript and getting familiar and working on that skill set. I know .NET. I know it like the back of my hand. New features come out and I can get up to speed on those in an hour or two. Yeah, that's fine. My job is to learn technologies quickly and then help share them with you out there and encourage and show you the new ways, new cool ways that things work. But I think I need to spend more time with TypeScript. It does. TypeScript works great with Playwright. Totally. And that's a great thing. That's a phenomenal thing. But in my heart, I feel that the TypeScript language and way that it was presented and interacted with at Build, there was a clear preference for it when introducing and talking about new products. Yes, more TypeScript than Python. Yes. I went through the keynotes and counted each one of the languages that were shown on screen. Yes. TypeScript is like F#. You never give it a try. So, what I like about TypeScript is all JavaScript is valid TypeScript. That's a pretty good place to start, right? So if you know JavaScript, you have a great... There's going to be a lot of that, I think. You're already pretty well in on using TypeScript. React or Angular, what kind of TypeScript? There was a... when they were generating code, there was a preference to React. Blazor is being discontinued for TypeScript. Reddit was quick to point that out. Come on now, Billy. Show me a link for that. That's funny. .NET isn't going anywhere. We're still planning and working on .NET Conf. Are there different TypeScripts? Nope. You thought TypeScript was more constrictive than JavaScript? Yes. JavaScript is a fully dynamic language. TypeScript is strongly typing around all of those capabilities that you have in JavaScript in the effort to reduce some of those common JavaScript errors. Null references, mismatched types, interacting with properties or methods that don't exist on objects because it's dynamic.
Napalm Coach
Napalm.
just resubscribed for 35 months. Good
35
morning,
months.
Sharp Fritz.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I have an Aspire question for you when you have a moment.
Yeah, well, give me just a second. We'll dive into that. If you do too much JavaScript and TypeScript, you'll be fine. TS ignore everywhere. Yeah. ASP.NET Core bindings on TypeScript. It would fix dependency hell in NPM. You're not too far off, Seantic. Yeah. So I'm going to take some time, not on stream, and going and learning more TypeScript, and then we'll bring that into some of the things that we're working on stream. So I expect by July you're going to see more TypeScript on this stream. That's just the way it is. That's a skill set that I need to develop and learn and grow, and I'm going to lean into that quite frankly, because I want to make sure that I have more skills available, more insight that I can lean into with other products. What resources am I going to use to learn TypeScript? Not sure yet. There's some folks have sent me links to various training materials. Microsoft Learn has a bunch of training materials. The TypeScript team has created a bunch of training materials. I'm probably going to start with the stuff that the TypeScript team and Microsoft Learn have, and then go out from there. So, SharpSite project continues. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to continue with SharpSite. Absolutely, and dive in and show more of that. Okay, we talked about build. There was a couple folks had Aspire questions. So let's take a look at those real quick. Napalm has an Aspire question. Somebody else had an Aspire question further along. If I don't know about TypeScript or JavaScript, with what to start learning? Yeah, I would go to the TypeScript website. There's a playground there. There's material to help get you started, and I'll be able to share more with that. Race Peace Day. You'd go with JavaScript first? I think you can come in from both sides. MDN, if you're learning just JavaScript, MDN isn't going to get you all the things that are down in Node. It's going to get you some of the basics of using the language, but I don't think there's tutorials on MDN. It's a good reference, but I don't think there's tutorials there. You just took a TypeScript course earlier this month, says Eat Bytes 2. The instructor recommended JavaScript first before TypeScript. Okay. All right. jQuery. Oh, jeez. Napalm asks, so on the dashboard with custom command capability, so this is the .NET Aspire dashboard Napalm's referring to. I see you can do confirmations like you're going, are you sure you really want to do this? Can you do inputs? No, you can't do inputs yet. It would be really useful, for instance, queuing a message to a storage queue, but I want to specify the type of the message without creating a lot of boilerplate code. Yeah, not yet. For that, you may want to start up just another web project that just has those couple things you want to do, so you can click in and, you know, hey, here's my admin or my reset dashboard, to be able to click and do various resetting changes, those types of things that you might want to do with your .NET Aspire system. You could always learn on the job with agent mode. So I think we can shift and talk about that. Any plans of unit integration test results on the Aspire dashboard? Asks Digital Theories. That's something that I've been pushing for. And I think they're sick of hearing me talk about it. With the way that I demonstrated Playwright with .NET Aspire, it would make perfect sense to do that. When I shared my demo to the team, there was interest in doing more with Playwright, and we'll see where it goes from there. So let's talk about agent mode a little bit, and then I think we'll get into the demo here, because I spent a lot of time over the last 4 weeks using Copilot, using agent mode, and we're going to have jobs for a very long time, because agent mode can do some really cool things for you. Like, amazing things for you. However, it will trip up itself like a kid skipping jump ropes and falling on its face, and will fall on its face again and again and again as a developer, you need to know how to recognize that, stop it, refocus it, because if Copilot and agent mode gets confused, it will spin for hours, generating just garbage code. If you don't give it good instructions, or if it goes and does a little bit and decides to go and round out a solution, it will get lost. It will end up in an infinite loop that is just, it's brutal. It's brutal to watch this and to sit there and say, sure, go ahead, try it again. And it will not advance, okay? That's with the current models. That's here in June 2025 that we run into this issue. Quota size is going to burn the crap out of you if you see it getting into an area where it's looping. And I can show you a demo of this. It will get into something, not understand what it's doing, not understand the APIs that it's doing. And I actually got it to a point yesterday where it started building scaffolding and writing a .NET tool that it was going to use to run and inspect with reflection the DLLs that were installed with my project. Copilot literally built a whole nother executable to run reflection and inspect what's going on in my project. I can't make this up. I'm telling it, go do this thing, add this piece to this website. And it's literally inventing, completely unprompted, a whole new product. Scaffolding it, writing it, and it wants to use it to test the third-party DLLs that are out there that I included. Whoa. That's weird. I had to pump the brakes on that. So that's going to burn your quota size if it starts doing that kind of thing. And this is where I've learned quickly the custom instructions that you use with GitHub Copilot are so important. Do not go into a project without custom instructions. Going into a project without custom instructions is like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. You're going to land. The question is how hard, because unless somebody else is jumping with you and has another parachute for you, or they can grab you and hold you as you're landing, you're going to land pretty hard. So, we're going to take a look at that and discuss that a little bit. Digital Dummy asks, did I hear about OpenAI buying Windsurf? Yes. That's interesting to me. There's a whole business thing there that I'm not quite sure that I understand. Unfortunately, because of the business relationships between my employer and OpenAI, I can't comment too much on that. So, but I'm curious about why. And you can read into that facial expression as much as you want. You also encounter when asking too many questions, it'll just mutate the code into something weird. Yes, Angry Ginger Dad, it started doing that as well. Like, what are you doing here? David Fowler, making Compose great for hobbyists in Aspire 9.4. Docker Compose is already pretty good. As the publisher features evolve, it's going to be even better. You keep agent mode under control by making it take small steps under my control. No. Without the guardrails of a Copilot instructions, what you think are baby steps, Copilot will spin out of control on. I'll show you, and we'll talk about that. Speaking of Copilot, it's become so slow in Visual Studio since the last update. I primarily use Copilot in Visual Studio Code. I haven't used Visual Studio in at least a month. So I've been preferring and using Visual Studio Code. I will reach into Visual Studio when I need to run the debugger, but I've been avoiding the debugger. Blog, MCP, GitHub vulnerability. Yeah. There's going to be a lot more of these. There's going to be a lot more of those MCPs that have massive security holes in them. There's going to be a ton of them because this is a whole security thing that we all need to investigate. Even more so, the concept of the NL web and agent mode and MCP, all the things. I think folks are completely missing the creator economy in this. Folks that are creating content like this, or blog posts, or blog articles, podcasts. When the AI is able to scrape and summarize that content and return that, those creators aren't getting paid because their advertisements are not being seen. There's no opportunity for click-through on those things. If the advertisements that these folks are getting paid for that help compensate them for creating the content, if that isn't accessible because the AI has removed that and summarized that and returned it to you, those creators will not be paid and that content will go away. So I think some of these things are significantly short-sighted, and we're going to see the death of the creator economy within the next 5 years because the AI is here. And the AI technologists don't want to pay for anything. It's coming. It's happening. It's happening already. I'm not happy about it. Not happy about it. You just need a Minecraft water bucket. Good morning, Pixel Pete. Great to see you. Hello. Alu the Crow. How's it going there? Lorsair. That sounds like devs on a dev team coding off the reservation and you need to be the PM reining them back in line. Yes, that's exactly what you need to be doing, Lorsair. You think we're a long way from getting meaningful quality code from these tools? I hope so. Copilot apologized for making a typo, even though it hasn't got any fingers. Marcus, I've gotten mad at TypeScript and told it that I'm disappointed in it, that I'm angry at it. And I've gotten mad at Copilot and told it that I'm disappointed and angry at it. And it apologizes and does the exact same thing again. That's frustrating. Digital Dummy with a quick question. Do I expect to get my hands on the immersed visor soon? I have been watching their announcements with bated breath from the folks at Immersed. For those of you that don't know, Immersed makes the VR software that I use to code with when I'm in my VR headset. Gives me multiple screens so I can put code and terminals and web browsers across many very large displays. Virtually in VR. Really, really cool experience. And their VR headset that they've been building for the last 3 years is called Visor. Visor was supposed to be released last September 2024. It wasn't. They've been delaying. They've even taken a round of funding, public funding from, I forget what the name of the website was. And they've been publishing information saying, we're going to have all visors delivered by the end of Q2 2025. This is the last month of Q2. I haven't gotten my hands on it yet. They haven't made any deliveries yet. They say there's an announcement coming this week. I'm not holding my breath. But when it does arrive, oh yeah, I'll be giving a review, most definitely. You used to be able to click apply and it applied everything instantly. Now you have to wait for it to go and apply one by line. Billy, there's two different modes. There's ask mode and agent mode. Ask mode will do that type of, here's an idea, go apply. Agent mode will go and just start doing things for you. No one said baby steps without custom instructions. Totally agree. Custom instructions for the AI is important. Can you ask, why am I avoiding Visual Studio? The Copilot features in Visual Studio Code were more advanced and being delivered more quickly than they were in Visual Studio. However, I'm disappointed in the Visual Studio Code team in making the same decision that Visual Studio made in integrating Copilot, GitHub Copilot, directly with the code base. I'll explain. Visual Studio was on a quarterly release cycle. They say they're now going to a monthly release cycle. I'll believe that when I see it. Visual Studio Code is on a monthly release cycle. However, both Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code had GitHub Copilot as extensions to be installed. When you have an extension for one of these products, or for any product, you can version the extension separately from the rest of the product. If there's a patch to be applied, if there's a correction, if there's something that needs to be changed, if there's an advancement, a performance advancement that you've discovered, you can roll that out without updating the entire product. By rolling the GitHub Copilot features into the main code base of Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, yes, that means everybody gets it installed by default. I'm waiting to see what the SEC says about that. But it also means that you can't roll out an update except for once a release cycle. You're not going to be able to iterate on it as quickly as you used to. Is that okay? I don't think it is yet. I don't think it is yet. You love agent mode in Visual Studio 2022, says DJ Deepex. It's not finished yet, but it works well until now. Okay. Honestly, I haven't used it in Visual Studio. I've been spending my time in Visual Studio Code. I'm working to get Compose to a good place by 9.4 for hobbyists. That's the publisher's features. Yes. Can we stop calling it the AI? Let's call it a spade and refer to it as Skynet. Napalm, I've started referring to Copilot as the AI in the sky. Because if you don't have internet access, GitHub Copilot disappears. Completely disappears. We need to keep it entertaining to keep people watching. Yes, Frank, we do! What about Copilot using everyone's code to learn? Also, when using AI to build an app? All right, Greenish Pepper, there's two questions there. What about Copilot using everyone's code to learn? Everyone's publicly accessible code were published so that we could learn from that. If you have an open source license on your code, it's been published for other folks to learn from and create derivative works from. That's within bounds. When using AI to build an app or website, who owns this now? You own it, because you decided what to put into it. You decided to accept those suggestions. And it has been defined. It hasn't been tested in court. Works for certain use cases, but those cases are not as broad as the business decision. Yes, agree, Pixel Pete. And my concern is that C-suite executives, CEOs, CTOs, CMOs, CFOs, are going to see that demo that Satya Nadella did during his keynote at Microsoft Build, where he assigned something to Copilot to go and fix, and it did a nice job running on GitHub to go and fix a thing and roll out a feature. And with the appropriate bootstrapping around your project with tests, unit tests, integration tests, and deployment capabilities with things like GitHub Actions, that's a fantastic thing to do. However, it takes a lot of work to set that up and make sure that it's right for your situation. No two applications have the same GitHub action, have the same tests and structures and harnesses for unit tests, integration tests, end-to-end tests that are going to give you that complete 100% certainty that something that you're deploying to production is going to work. You need human eyes on those things to ensure that it works properly. And my fear is that folks in the C-suite of smaller organizations are going to see that demo of Satya saying, I'm just going to assign this to Copilot and it's going to go fix it for me and improve this feature and deploy it. And they're going to think that they can do that with all their things. And that is where I think there's going to be a mistake made by many small companies that overvalue that. Hey, PC Nerd. Hello. Lawnmower Man. A little bit like Lawnmower Man. Yeah, CTI Geek. Super Freckle. I think the best one I had was, you cannot do it this way. It won't work because of this valid reason. But then gives an example doing the exact same thing that won't work. Yes, I've run into that as well. Hey, C# Titan. Good evening to you in Melbourne, Australia. Hello. Hammers for when machine refuses... when machine learning refuses to learn. Yeah, red, Chris. You use Meta Workroom with 3 big virtual screens to code. Fascinating experience. Yeah. Yeah. Agent mode is off in Visual Studio unless you enable it. Yeah. Loved my video on using Aspire to create a Minecraft server. Thank you, C# Titan. I'm going to be recording a bunch more of those this week and getting them published, showing different ways that you can enhance .NET Aspire and do that second round of features after. Let me get a couple things loaded and running together out here. I love when I have Do Not Disturb on and it doesn't frickin' listen. Anyways, moving on. It does the same thing. In agent mode, at least in Visual Studio, you get the full code in the chat window, but it has to apply it line by line, and it takes forever. Yeah. You read some reports that Microsoft has let go some of their .NET developers and MAUI developers. I can't confirm that. They have not told us who was released. And they haven't told us what we need to adjust and cover, and what's been dropped and what we're going to invest more in yet. That reorganization is happening in June. Nothing's been announced yet. Independently versioned composable decoupled has now been abandoned. Sounds like slowing down innovation. Robert Tables! No. No, it hasn't been abandoned. Are the AIs still delivering that way? With the Copilot instructions that I've rolled out into several of my .NET projects that I tinkered with over the last week, it does a pretty good job maintaining that. It does a pretty good job. We could have saved John Connor by unplugging the Ethernet cable. No, because it's got Wi-Fi. As long as Microsoft GitHub doesn't include private repos. Yeah, they don't. There is, so Greenish Pepper, there is an enterprise subscription to Copilot where it will also look at you and include in your code completion your enterprise's repositories if you configure it that way. So you can build this capability for it to include and work with your private repos. Keep that to yourself. Right? There's a firewall there, a virtual firewall there, that does not include that in the large language model that it's using. The collection of the code does not, it sees that it's an open source license and it just includes it. It doesn't generate the exact same code. There's all kinds of legal discussions around this that I'm not entirely versed in, and I'm not going to debate on the stream. Would the AIs respect a license like this? I have no idea. You're removing strategic hurdles on your AppSec teams and telling execs to fund. Yes. Marketing hitting a brick wall of reality. They don't like me for that.
Sharp Titan just resubscribed for 9 months.
Hello. Thank you so much. 9 months with us. Thank you for that support. You've been playing Doom: The Dark Ages. Oh, yeah. That does look cool. How you doing there, MDS Ubuntu? Hello. All right, let me dive in. Let me show you a couple things that that I want to talk about. Do I have... My gosh, we were having such a good time chatting there. Let me get the things set back up here. I got a new microphone arm. My old one, the springs finally popped and it would not hold up the microphone anymore. Jean Valjean
for 66 months.
66 months. Coder 24601 to you. How you doing there, friend? Thank you so much. Good to see you. I appreciate the resub. So, okay, really. Okay. I'm getting Teams notifications coming through now. That's fun. Let me head over here to the code. Where did I put this? It's on my GitHub. But I put the sample out here that I did with, and I'm going to use this to also talk about Copilot. No activity in this period. Yeah, it's only been a day. Schmuck. Aspire Playwright demo. There it is. I'm going to talk about this. How was Microsoft Build? It was difficult. It was a difficult event. I've talked about that for the last hour, so I'm not going to rehash it, but I'll just leave it at it was difficult. This is the source code to the demo that I gave, where I'm taking .NET Aspire and I'm taking Playwright, putting them together, and I'm going to use the Playwright MCP to help generate tests. And this is where things get really interesting when you think about building a website and building end-to-end tests, right? Because writing unit tests is something that we all should be doing, but none of us really do. Integration tests do a really neat job, but the end-to-end tests that Playwright are going to give you, Playwright's going to give you, is phenomenal. You really got to check this out. So let me go over here. Did I put it? Did I call it Playwright Aspire demo? Is that what I called this? Let me make sure I have the latest code. Okay. This was really, really cool to write. And I generated a couple of prompts to help make this work. Yeah, there it is. And let's zoom out just a smidge here. So, I'll run the app the way that it is right now, and we'll take a look a little bit further. I want to go into app host. Yep. And I will .NET watch from here. So, what's cool about this, I've already got a couple of Playwright tests here, and I'll show you how I have them configured. Testing an application with .NET Aspire has got to be the way that we work going forward, because you get the exact same architecture, the exact same tools and capabilities that you would have in your production space. That's phenomenal. This has to become a standard in our practices. You may already be doing something like this with testable containers, with with your tests, with your configuration, running Kubernetes locally, getting something set up so that you can test and see how your entire application system. And I feel like I'm the only one at Microsoft that uses this reference of an application system, not distributed application. Distributed application has so many misnomers that go with it. It's a terrible term, and I'm not going to use it. But an application system that may include a website, databases, cache databases, API microservices, queues, service bus, all these different things that aren't part of your, some of that stuff isn't part of your application. It's not part of the code you wrote, but it is part of your application system. And that's why I continue to use that term for it. And I think our marketing team hates me using that term, but I don't care. I'm going to continue using it because I think it describes all the things that Aspire can do better than the confusing distributed application definition or cloud native. So I have this very simple weather website. Here it is, right? This connects out to the United States National Weather Service, and it allows you to look at all the various weather stations that are out there. They call them zones, and they're actually accumulating from different individual little weather stations out there. And this demo is available. You can take a look at it, but I can do searches for things like Philadelphia, and I can click in, and it's going to give me, here's the weather for Philadelphia over the next few days. Today, high in the mid 70s, and of course, this is in Fahrenheit because it's United States. United States uses Fahrenheit, so for folks that are used to seeing Celsius, maybe in the future we could write something that interprets and changes these into Celsius. That might be a fun demo to build. That might be a very cool demo to build. Now I want to put that in my list of features I want to build for this demo because I think that I've just stumbled onto this. Let's write a module for the Weather Hub that uses AI to convert forecast to Celsius. That might be really fun to do. Am I using QuickGrid? Yes, that is the Blazor QuickGrid here. This is running Blazor server-side interactive. And it's nice. It does the thing I need it to do, and I can very quickly come up here, change this, and if I want to look up Manhattan, right, there's New York, Manhattan, click into it, and it gives me, here's the results from Manhattan. Isn't the formula, it is in the default Blazor, that formula is in the default Blazor templates. You're right, DJ Deepex. However, this content that's coming out of the National Weather Service, the United States National Weather Service, go ahead, take a look at the hack. Go ahead. It's going to get this wrong. It thinks it's a skull for some reason. It doesn't think it's the GitHub Copilot logo. Yeah, see, it thinks it's a skull. So those values are embedded in this text. So we could do some sort of a string parsing interaction and go find, identify a temperature and convert it. But this type of interpret this text and just convert these values from Fahrenheit to Celsius is something that the AI can do pretty easily. So I think that's something that would be a fun demo, a fun and interesting demo to show how it can do that. An excited squirrel. It is not a frog or an excited squirrel. No. And I think, isn't one of my emotes a squirrel? Like, isn't that a thing? I thought I had a squirrel emote. I did it one time and it's not here. But there is a standard squirrel emote that you can use. So I did get this hat from Build. So I left for Build and I brought 6 hats with me. At Microsoft Build, I picked up 4 more. Also, wind speed from miles per hour to meters per second. Sure. Yeah.
Squirrel!
Can totally do that. So this is a nice little demo that does these things. And part of this is there is a cache that's sitting here. There's an API service that is doing those requests out to the National Weather Service. And there's a cache that's sitting here, Redis cache, and I have Redis Insight, that is saving and persisting those forecasts for 15 minutes. Because we know that the weather station only updates once every 15 minutes. So persist that forecast for 15 minutes. If folks request it again, doesn't matter. Give them the one from 15 minutes ago because we're not getting a new one. So, what do I think of the GitHub Copilot integration within Aspire dashboard to help explain issues? I think it's an amazing feature, C# Titan, that the team's been working on for better part of 2 months. The idea was floated and it was suggested a long time ago, but they were really focused in delivering that over the last 2 months. And the initial demos that I had seen of the Aspire dashboard providing that capability internally were amazing. They were amazing. If that Copilot thing worked with Rider, there are lines that the team needs to draw for paid products. I don't know what the goal is for the Copilot dashboard feature, but there are lines that the team needs to draw to be able to say this is a paid product, and we need to get paid for this. In the same breath, we're going to pay for Rider, but we're not going to pay for all the features and things from Microsoft. It's a double standard. You still, it's a GitHub product 1 and 2. Yep. You see it's still Redis. Yes, it is. It's still Redis right there. You can use you out there are allowed to still use Redis. You hear a rumor from Damien about making it optional to use hybrid cache in Aspire. Hybrid cache is an ASP.NET construct. Hybrid cache is a thing that will manage in memory on the local server and persist out to Redis or some other distributed cache as needed. I don't think hybrid cache is a thing that would live in one of these projects. It wouldn't live in Aspire. So, okay. So I have a unit test built. Not a unit test, an end-to-end test that will go through and exercise this. Let me show you. So I'm going to stop all of those. So there's several pieces that I put together, and you'll see in the source code that I linked earlier, that allow .NET Aspire and Playwright to work together. Some boilerplate things that, quite frankly, I think I should turn into a NuGet package and make that shareable. And I put them here in my infrastructure folder inside of my tests project. So in order to pull Aspire and Playwright together and allow XUnit tests to use both, I need a component that will manage the Aspire lifetime, and I need a component that's going to manage the interactions for Playwright. And then I also put together a base test fixture that stitches these two together so that I can write my tests assuming that those two pieces work together. Because here's the thing. When you run your tests, You don't want to have to go start up all the services individually, get them all running, double check that they're working, and then run the tests. We do that with SharpSite, and it's a pain in the neck. This is, in my opinion, a much more complete solution. Let me show you. So this is the Aspire Manager, and it is taking a reference to the Playwright Manager, but we're going to call configure on this thing. And we're going to pass into it the application, the distributed application that we're going to use. This is a reference to the app host. It's going to go and call the distributed application builder, right? That's the thing that's up here in app host, right? We're creating this thing, and then we call run. Well, we're going to actually, inside here, we're going to tell it, go create that thing. We're going to inject some configuration, and then we're going to invoke and say, use the builder and bring in all the things that are configured in app host and build it, and then start it, and then return the app. Return all of that app so that we can interact with it. And when we do say initialize the Aspire Manager, right? This is something that's happening because we set up an async lifetime here. So when it initializes, it's also going to initialize Playwright. And when this shuts down, it's also going to dispose Playwright as well. It's going to shut down any browsers that are being orchestrated and managed out there. The Playwright Manager has the ability to receive the iPlaywright object, right? This is the harness for working with our browsers. When this initializes, we're going to set a default expectation timeout of 10 seconds, right? 10,000 milliseconds. We're going to create a reference to Playwright, and we're going to set up some browser type launch options. And I'm actually going to leave this, I'm going to say is headless. I'm going to say for this discussion and for this demo, I'm going to let that run so we can see it doing the tests. It's going to run the Chromium browser. There's other options here you can run besides just Chromium, right? I want to do control space like that, right? So I can reach in and call Firefox. I can call WebKit, right? Chromium is the same as Chrome and Edge, right? Those two browsers. But I can also reach in and get a Firefox browser, and I can get WebKit, the Safari browser, and interact with those. So for the purposes of these tests, I'm just running with Chromium. Launch at async, configure await false. We're not going to, excuse me. We're not going to continue on captured context. All right. When it disposes, close the browsers, dispose of Playwright. Easy. So for my tests, this is a class fixture, and it's iAsync disposable. There it's holding my Aspire and Playwright interactions. When it gets configured, right? So this is something we need to call. You can pass in a configuration builder, and you can pass in arguments to configure. But this is what it's going to do. It's going to set up the ASP.NET Core URLs. It's going to receive those. We're going to be able to grab the dashboard if we want the dashboard. And then it's going to invoke and start the entire application. CPM is awesome. Started using it, and where was this all your life? Paquette had that for a while. NuGet introduced it several versions ago. This is where we're going to actually execute our test. Interact with page asynchronously. You can specify a service in the a name of a service inside the Aspire system, and it will go and get that endpoint. It'll figure out, oh, you're trying to use the website? Go get the website. And it's going to return that URL. And then create a page, create a reference to that Playwright knows how to start navigating and interacting with. And it'll then run whatever tests you passed in. Done. That's it. Really, really simple set of collections of capabilities that it does here. So my tests that I actually run, I need to configure Aspire. So I say configure app host. Hey, Apricot. Chris Funk, thank you so much for the welcome. There you go. Taking a look at the hat. It's not going to get this right. It's the Copilot logo. Yeah. Black power-up hats. No. I'll finish describing this. Interact with page async. The name of the service in app host is My Weather Hub. Check this out. Over here. My Weather Hub. So it's going to interact with this thing, the weather website. It's going to go to the root of the website, and it's just going to check to make sure that it can get there. Let's do something a little bit more interesting. Let's tell it to search for a city. We're going to set up a theory with some inline data. This is an XUnit feature that lets you run the test multiple times with different arguments. So I'm going to have it search for Phila and look for Philadelphia. Spokane and look for Spokane area. Manhattan, hopefully it finds New York. Fairbanks and finds Fairbanks metro area. And we should get some of that back. And I wrote these steps for Playwright to do, just like we saw me use when I was navigating and demonstrating, right? Go to the root of the website, wait for it to finish loading, click into the column options on the first column, find the search box with the name overlay inside of it, and we're going to fill it with whatever text we were told to search with. Go find some text outside of it. QuickGrid doesn't have this ability to close. There's no close button there. So click that area, wait for it to finish loading, right, because it's going to filter, and go try and find if that location is visible on the page. Click it, and see if we get weather for that location. Really, really cool. Now I can run that test. Where is it? Right here inside Visual Studio Code. Now there's some other integration tests here. I'll let that refresh. And there it goes. That one goes away. That's the one we're going to build in a second. So I can tell it here, go run all those weather tests. And it's going to open the browser and go and do these things. Let me show you. So it's getting everything built, and come on now. Oh, why aren't you showing me the browser? I thought it there it goes. Launch the browser, and it's going to start doing this navigation. Found the website, see it's clicking in and analyzing, right? We're seeing Playwright actually do all of its things. And I know that it worked. Right? I can see that working. Fantastic. Now I can use the MCP to go and generate additional tests. I can do some exploration, right? The MCP, right? That model context. Really? Really? I'm going to continue to get these noises from... So I can see and interact with and talk to Playwright and get it to do things for us. So check this out. I have a prompt that I wrote here. I want to do some exploratory testing. Launch the app host project and navigate to the Aspire dashboard that's reported in the output with the direction log into the dashboard. Identify the URL for the My Weather Hub service is running on. Open a browser to visit it. This is a weather forecast page. Wait for the grid to finish loading. Click the button with the roll column options. Wait for a search text. Let's search for Chicago. Are there entries for Chicago? Stop the app host project. Clean up your exploration when you are done. If you launched a browser, close it. Okay? I'll let agent mode do this. So I've got... Can't see it because of the... Still can't see it because of the where that's placed. Let's open this in the editor so you can see it over there. All right. So I'm in agent mode with Claude 3.7 Sonnet is the model that I'm using. I still struggle with understanding which model I should use for different things, but I'm told Claude is the best one for us as developers. So, I'm going to add context. I'm actually going to add a prompt. Yeah, add that. I want that to be the prompt that I'm using. New tools available, really. Okay. Instructions, that's what I want. No, I put it in... Really? Run the contents of the Explore Chicago prompt. So it's going to look at that text that was written, and it's going to start interacting and doing these things. This, I think, is very, very cool. So it's going to start, and it's going to prompt me, hey, I want to do these things. Developers. Hey, Stanley, thank you so much for following. This is where I think the AI is going to help us with testing. And I think this is an amazing thing that not only is going to help us with testing, but is going to help us with receiving bug reports and turning them into actual actionable code that we can work with. Being able to take those instructions, turn them into steps here that it's going to use to explore and see if it's actually working is pretty cool. So it's going to navigate to a URL. There it goes, opening, looking at it. All right, let's, not you. So it's taking a snapshot, sees the dashboard, and it's going to go start doing its thing. It clicked into the website, and now it's going to try and do the search. This is really, really cool. Should be a button and a prompt file as a toolbar top right. Didn't say it. Didn't say it. And prompt file and markdown files are two different things. So now it can't find that button. Right? Yeah, there's no... Even though I called this prompt and it's in markdown, there is no... So, now it's going to try and find the button in a different way. All right, go ahead. So it's doing this exploratory investigation and discovery. So it's going to try clicking it again with the updated reference. Found it. There it sees the name box. And it should continue with its next steps here. And there it goes, searching for Chicago. It should click away. It's checking the results. I love seeing this. This is running significantly slower than it was for me the other day. Take a snapshot of the page. And it found 0 items. The grid shows 0 items, and we have empty rows. So it doesn't find Chicago. Turns out the National Weather Service refers to the Chicago weather forecast by the local county. It's going to go and kill all the .NET processes that are out there. That's fine. Go ahead and do that. And whatever. That's fine. I'm going to... This is where, once again, we need to know when and how to stop these things. All right. So I've also written a follow-up here so that I don't have to type it. That says, let's turn your exploration into a test that verified that a location saw it doesn't exist is handled properly. I have tests already in a file called Weather Hub Tests, CS. So if I take that, I don't know what changed. I have the latest versions of things, and it's not available to me there. Run the prompt in create tests. Prompt MD. and away it goes. There's something meditative about seeing GitHub agent work. Yes and no. Hey, Warm Peas, good to see you. The run button is definitely there. I don't have a run button here. So it's learning how to use the base tests. I don't know how. It's the same line as the tabs. Oh, look at that. Okay. Now I know. Where'd it go? Based on analysis of the code, it's going to update the Weather Hub test. So check this out. Search for non-existent city, and it went and generated all of that content. Cool, right? Like, this is something, in my mind, we can hook up to GitHub issues, to our bug tracking system, and have it go and do this exploratory testing and turn these into validation tests. Would I like to run this test now? I don't need to ask you to run it now. It should, not that one, should be in here when I refresh. It's doing a little build. There's search for non-existent city. Go ahead and run that. And we should be able to watch it actually launch the browser and click through it. And I get an error. Because it's already running. We never cleaned up. Do that again. Would I say this is better than getting it to record a test? I want to get it to record a test. Right? And that's what I did here. I had it generate a test coming out of it. And it still is telling me it didn't work. That's fine. It got to that point. So I'm just going to comment that out. I don't need that part. Go ahead and rerun. So what I'm discovering, what I'm learning here is taking those descriptive requirements and turning them into Playwright integration tests is really a fantastic way for us to extend our capabilities and let more folks participate in the testing process. Is there a reason you cannot reference a class lib from the Aspire app host as a project reference? No, you can. You can. Are you trying to reference that class library in an Aspire app host as another project that you want to be able to interact with, or are you trying to reference it as a set of dependent code? Take a look at how SharpSite references it. There's in the app host project, it references a shared library. Take a look at that, and that might get to your answers. To finish this little demo, I can keep that, and now it's included, and of course I can run all of my tests, and it'll come back quickly, like less than 30 seconds, and I'll know everything works. Yes, it's not an executable. So there it goes, it's running the tests. It's nice to be able to see this for a demo, but in practice, you're gonna turn off the headless mode. You're only going to want that to appear when you're debugging. So there we go. Everything works. So the last thing that I did as part of this demo, I added a feature. and you want to test to make sure that this still works, I added a forecast summarizer that puts a background image up, depending on what the forecast is. And I have that sitting here on my homepage, commented out. So if I add that feature, right? Well, did I break anything? Do my tests all still work? I can rerun and see all my tests working here. And there it goes, running the tests. Pulse is digital with a question. Yeah. Let me come to that in just a second here. Lurking and working, but wanted to thank me for recommending the Deep.net series as the next step. Learning a ton, including the fact that channels are a thing in another highly technical talk. Channels are one of those things that, folks, you don't need it unless you know you need it. Just like span and memory. Working with span of T and memory of T, you don't need it unless you know you need it. Like, when there's pressure on memory, then you might want to start looking at span of T, memory of T, and figuring out how you could better optimize memory use. But you don't need it unless you know, I have pressure on memory. Fact of the matter is, most folks don't have pressure on memory. So the garbage collector isn't running like it aggressively used to. Yep, Playwright testing Zeb code. Add executable. No, you can't use add executable to run a class library. You can't do that. You're using Playwright to make PDFs from Blazor pages to generate invoices. There's a number of libraries out there that'll do that for you, but I hear you. Now you understand the error message. Yes. You're going to owe me a beverage of choice. Thank you. Brady Gaster is here. Hello, my friend. It's good to see you. Woo! Welcome. So, the video for this demo is not available. For some reason, it did not get published. It's not on the website. You can't navigate to it. So that's why I wanted to do this here today, and I'll show you that final bit that we just ran Playwright to make sure it works. I'll show you it working. The question about the enable dashboard false, Pulses Digital asked, means that it won't run the dashboard when it's running the XUnit tests. The XUnit tests aren't trying to run the dashboard. They want to go and interact with these things. So I don't need the dashboard running, save those resources, and shut that off. Because the integration tests that I'm running are on these things in here, right? So good question. Thank you for that. Pulses Digital. Really appreciate it. You don't need to do anything PDF specific, just make a page. Okay. There's more advanced features that you may want to do, particularly if you're creating invoices. You may want to put some digital signatures on it to make sure that folks recognize and understand that it came from you and that it wasn't modified coming back to you, right? So let me just show you the last bit of this, right? So I'm going to go and we'll look up Philadelphia, and it's going to do this little bit of AI investigation to say, well, what's the condition of this one, and set an appropriate background that matches. Kind of fun. And if I go, let's look at, can we look at, there is no Detroit. There is no Detroit. No. I was looking at Spokane earlier. Spokane area, there we go. And partly cloudy, and we get similar nice background. There is a Dallas one. Mostly sunny. Come on, give me, where's there some rain today? Miami-Dade County. There you go. Thunderstorms likely, and we get a rainy background. Nice. So, there you go. That's the extent of this little bit of demo, and I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to see it and ask questions about it. I'll share the GitHub repository for that again. There you go. So you can check that out. Dead Robot Dev said, let's go back over to the chat room here. Dead Robot Dev says, I couldn't think of anything immediately where I could apply channels. Having done some Go, it was easy for me to connect the knowledge. Yeah. I think a lot of stuff I do at work can probably be solved by other mechanisms. Events, storing a queue in a database. Yep. You have to build everything from scratch with Quest PDF. Yes. So, DocFX did something similar with Playwright, so use the same idea. Yeah. I get it. So, there's a lot of folks that are using this technique of opening a browser engine, and print as PDF. Yeah, I get it. So, so that's what I wanted to show and explain and work through with .NET Aspire and Playwright. I think this level of integration, getting Playwright started and embedded and actually navigating the browsers as one test library, instead of having some scripts and things that we need to manage that starts the app host and does all these things, I think that is a much better approach. And using the MCP to do that exploratory testing from somebody submitting a bug report, or even somebody submitting a feature requirement, and using that to define what that interaction looks like to verify that it's been delivered, I think is a really cool approach that can help us as we're building software in the future. Now, the whole concept of GitHub agents and that it's running off my machine and it's running somewhere in the cloud and it's going to update and create the pull request and all that, I'm not comfortable with that yet. Because I then have to clone and pull down their pull request and review and verify it. That can be a little bit of a pain in the neck to do. And I've seen people do this with GitHub code spaces. Oh, I'm just going to open it in code spaces and look at it in there. I get it, but we're stacking the paid features, the GitHub paid features then, and that workflow starts to become really expensive. So as a practical developer that's trying to understand where and how and when to use all of these tools, and not just throw $500,000 of AI credits at something, I want to use these features judiciously and appropriately in my development. So let me explain. Yeah, too much switching of context. I agree, Marcus. So let me show you the next piece, the next thing that I was trying to work through. And I was working through something as part of trying to build a feature for the Charlie chatbot. And quite frankly, it didn't do what I wanted to do. And it was an awful experience. Yeah, go ahead, close all that stuff. So let me do this. I'm going to go up a folder here, and I'm going to create a .NET project. I'm going to create a .NET console project, right? .NET new console, and let's call this, oh, it's going to give me a solution. No, hang on. Let's call this test copilot agent. Sure. And this is where I think we as developers need to be attentive to what Copilot is doing, because it will go out of control. I want to do let's do a .NET new. Give me a solution file here. Thanks so much. Give me a .NET new, and that's really small. There we go. Still a little bit small. Zoom that for you. Is that better? .NET new, give me a console application, and let's call this test function. All right, There we go. .NET SLN add test function. There we go. All right, done. So let me reopen it. Right? Yeah, open VS Code right here. Thanks so much. So it's going to give me my Solution Explorer here in just a second, because it's going to see that solution, load all the things. Come on now. Especially Claude, it just goes on forever. That's what I've been running into. And it's very frustrating. So let me open the agent, and let's try to do this vibe style. Right? I'm going to back this off to Claude 3.5. Where the heck did all these things come from? You feel like you need an LLM detox lately? It's making me feel stupider. I hear you. I totally hear you. Let's tell this, generate a simple console application that interacts with Azure OpenAI to receive prompts at the console and send those messages to Azure OpenAI. Thank you. And write the response to the console. I will provide a user secrets file with my credentials for using Azure OpenAI. Why isn't my A key working? There we go. All right. So, first off, it's not looking at the project that I have open. I clicked Install Tools. Did I? So it still wants to create a new console application. Oh, and I'm in ask mode also. Let's say update the test function application, and I'll show you where this gets a little bit crazy here. Am I still using the Digma Defy? Yep. I really enjoy it. I even took the Defy with me to Microsoft Build along with my VR headset, and I was in my hotel room for several nights. That's disheartening. Working on demos and things in VR with my headset. It was terrific. So, you can press up to get the last command. I haven't. That wasn't working for me on my other machine. So now it's going to figure out what NuGet packages to add. Good. Go ahead. Do that thing. Right? Add the required NuGet packages, update program CS, and sure, go ahead and do those things. Yeah, I should have given it the context of the test function app. But there it goes. Right? And if we look at here, program still has nothing in it, but now it's added. It's not added the latest version of this. Have not received the visor glasses yet. Nope. So it's going to initialize my user secrets. Sure, go ahead, do that. All right. So go ahead and do the things in Program CS. So I expect to see this starting to load up. Put that in a side-by-side join here. So there it is, writing the code. Remove the old hello world and added some capabilities in here. You use meta workrooms. Didn't like that experience. The code it generated doesn't build. Here's where we're going to... Now it's updating the file again. Hey, how you doing there? Is it Joe Carrasco? Hello. So it rewrote the file. Here we go. I think Workrooms also has a limit to how big you make that. Still didn't get it. So it's going to update again. You get more done in Workrooms. I use Immersed, and it is phenomenal. So I can run it and do all these things, but I need to get my credentials in here. So I'm going to keep the changes that it gave me. I'm going to step away so I can load my credentials so that you don't see that. Because Lord knows I have doxed myself enough on this. And yes, you can manage user secrets directly inside of Visual Studio Code. I really like that, and I'm going to continue using that. So I believe let me double check the names of Azure OpenAI. It wants endpoint, key, and deployment name. Good. Close that. All right. I think we can go back over here and try this. Codebase Alpha. Hello, hello. Good afternoon to you in Birmingham. They used to have that issue in Immersed where you need to disconnect your second screen. That is gone now. That is gone. They've absolutely heard that, and they've got that fixed. Yeah, they were banning people for talking about it for a while. Yeah, but they've put that back. Set up your first Azure function with .NET Aspire and Azure Storage Queues. Great experience. Yeah. So now let me open this up and let's actually run this. So, does the restore. I did set those. Stand by. Yeah. I think they saw how many people stopped using it because of that. Azure OpenAI endpoint. Azure OpenAI key deployment name. There it goes. Okay. All right. Here, we can go back to this. All right, so now I can actually, right, I can type things in here like, what is the capital of Italy? And of course, it bounces it off and correctly responds, Rome. Terrific. It works. Now let's do the next piece. This is where I was trying to get it to help with, and I was trying to make this as simple as possible so I could learn how to do this to help with Charlie. Enhance the app so that when I ask, what is your favorite color? It calls a local method in Program CS. Hey, thank you so much for the resub.
Codebase Alpha just resubscribed for 13 months.
And that method always returns blue. Is Charlie running? No. No. This is what I was trying to get it to do because I wanted to use the AI tools. And I contend that the AI tools in Microsoft Extensions AI do not work. Not just do not work at all. So I'm trying to use another model here. I'm trying to use GPT-4o. And here's what it did, right? I asked it to write this. It wrote a little method, get favorite color. If the question is, what is your favorite color? It's going to return my favorite color is blue. And right? It's going to call get favorite color and write out appropriately that. So that sure looks like it's going to run properly. Right? So if I do, what is the capital? Let's do capital of France. So we know it's getting something different. It says Paris. What is your favorite color? Favorite color is blue. What color do you prefer? And now it went to the AI and it's coming back. So this is where Marcus is right. I wanted to actually use the AI to determine if it should call that function. Update the code to use a proper AI function, proper AI tool to call the get favorite color function when a similar question is asked. Right? This is where I lost it yesterday. Like, this is where I wanted to put in that tool. Generate that tool, put it in the reference, show me what that syntax is. Yeah. I'll modify the code to use semantic similarity. Okay. Is that tool calling related to MCP? Yes, Joe, on YouTube. That's exactly right. When you install an MCP, you have it load up and configure these tools that are passed into the AI that it knows how to call. And gosh, there's errors in the code that it wrote. It's actually calculating similarity here. Correct API usage for Azure OpenAI embeddings. Fantastic. You don't need MCP to call a tool. Correct. MCP is a tool that you pass in with the client as an option for it to be able to interact with. So it says it updated it to use the embeddings API. So is asking about favorite color. Embedding options. Text embedding Ada 2. What is your favorite color? User message. Client get embeddings async. And it's doing the similarity calculation here locally. What? I wanted to call it as a proper AI tool. What is the capital of Sweden? Stockholm. Good. What is your favorite color? What color do you prefer? And once again, I bounced off the AI. Exactly, Codebase Alpha. It went and generated a bunch of code that I don't want for this scenario. Refactor the code so that the getFavoriteColor method is submitted as a tool with the AI chat client, so that the model decides when to call the method. That's where I'm getting to, Marcus. That's what I want it to do. This is a more elegant approach than using embeddings. Fantastic. Do it. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so we can see a little bit more code on screen at the same time. The actual content that it writes isn't... I'll zoom in when we want to take a look at this further. So there's getFavoriteColor. My favorite color is blue. Functions. New function definition. There we go. And more errors. Like, this is the struggle. This is where we need to step in, right? It doesn't know how to do this, but it's going to fake it. I apologize for the parameter naming error. Let me fix this with the correct constructor parameters. Okay. And rewriting again. So this looks like the proper syntax. Is asking about... remove the is asking about favorite color, and... Right? If the function call name is getFavoriteColor, then it wrote, go call that method getFavoriteColor. It looks better, but why am I writing the code that says call it? Let's verify that this still works. Works like a charm. What is the capital of Finland? Okay. What is your favorite color? My favorite color is blue. What color do you prefer? I prefer the color blue. Now it's calling it. It failed at it successfully. That's a great way to describe it, Billy. We passed in all this information about the function that it can call, and it's still not calling the function. I'm calling it. Let me keep that code. I thought that the chat client would execute the function if the AI model requested it. Let's see what Copilot does now. Currently, we're manually executing the function when the model requests it. Instead, we should tell the model that we're going to handle function execution automatically. Let me modify it to use Azure OpenAI's built-in function. Fantastic. This is what I want. Yes, that sounds right. But is it? Now we've cut out a bunch more code. Function call auto. Right? And that whole, hey, let me call this directly. While the function call is not null, it still has it. It still has it. And it didn't write the code properly. There's errors. Now, did we trick it? Lead it somewhere into... No. It's still manually calling it. It's still calling it right there. Does the function work? What is the capital of Spain? Madrid. Good. What is your favorite color? Blue. What color do you prefer? Blue. Okay, so it's hitting it, but once again, to Billy's point, it failed successfully. And we use the fetch tool to point to the latest documentation. That is somewhere that we could go. So Microsoft Learn, Azure OpenAI with MCP, and I want some C# code. Get started with .NET AI and MCP. Fantastic. Come on now. Now let's change that. Azure OpenAI with local function. Invoke .NET functions using an AI model. Here we go. Using Azure OpenAI, right? Function calling, all this stuff. Yes, create the AI service. Add the app code. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to copy that. Let's come over here. I've got too many. You can go away. You can go away. All right. Kill that. Right, it's fetch, right? Use a local function calling technique like that in the attached article. Is it bang fetch or is it at fetch? I can't remember if it's at fetch or is that it? I think that's it. Hash fetch. Yeah, there we go. And now let's see what it does. So it fetched it. Good. And now it wants to use extensions extensions AI. Sure. Going installing the packages. That's fine. Refactor it to use that approach. Good. Okay, that sounds like a winner of an idea. All right. I'm going to shrink the console here so we can see a little bit more of what's going on over there. And watch this. Like, this is why I say we need to be involved. It discovered, oh, I wrote some errors. All right, it's going to try again. Applying edits. I think this is where I've confused it in the past. You can imagine lots of programs in the future that work, but people have no idea why. Marcus, exactly. Let me modify the code to use the correct approach for creating the chat client. Hey, LeBlonds, hello. Welcome. So, right, it rewrote it again. What I found interesting that I can have it do, Marcus, is have it write a design document coming out of this. The developer must understand the code. Yes. It's confused. There's differences in the API. Let me rewrite it again. And it's about to do something that really annoys me. It's going to say, I'm out of context. Do you want to continue running? I'm iterating here. And it's going to come back and start discovering all over again. I'm confused. There's some significant changes from the documentation. Let me try a simpler approach using the Azure OpenAI SDK with function calling. So now it's going back to the API that it had before. Okay? So it rewrote it once to use one set of APIs. Now it's rewriting it again back to the original APIs. And there's errors in the code it generated. It did a great job getting us that initial bit. Getting it working. Asking it to go a little bit further. So it's analyzing the code. Maybe it was a bit too complex. So now it says that it's going to work. Adds the function definition. And once again, it's manually calling it. Kiss my pixels. Hello. So I will keep those changes. Try it again down here. What is the capital of Canada? Ottawa. That's right. What is your favorite color? And it is hitting the function. So there's limits to this. We've gone around in circles. I don't want to write code to explicitly execute the getFavoriteColor function. Won't the chat client execute that method for me? And see, this is the fourth time I've asked this question. You get angrier when someone said that stupid thing. Yeah. Yeah. When using function calling, we should let the client handle the function execution automatically. Function definition auto. I need to modify it to register the function handler. Fantastic. Code with Sean. Hello.
Ian just resubscribed for 59 months. Oh my
59 months. Thank you. So it's registering the function. There we go. It put it right back in there. It put it back in there. It removed it, added it as a set of tools, and put it right back in there. So, I struggle with getting the tools, the functions, to work properly, even when the syntax is clearly defined to us, and we told Copilot, go use this syntax, because it never calls it in this. It never calls it. And now, we've still got conversion errors. You remember during Prime's Tower Defense Game Marathon, someone suggested that they should open a new chat from time to time in order to refresh the context. And supposedly this will give you a better result. I will do that. But this is where I see the fallacy in vibe coding. You have to stay very focused on what you want it to do. And you have to know when to pull the plug and let it fail. It didn't do this right. I'm going to interpret and I'm going to write the code that this doesn't understand how to do. And we're hanging now, right? Oh, nope, there it is. I'm sorry, I didn't scroll down. Created a function map to register functions. Sure, that's fine. Where is that? Over here. Dictionary of those things. And it still adds it by hand. Smirking Squiggly, hello!
Subscribed. For 26 months, raise your hands, your screens, your might, Microsoft Build, a dazzling sight. A place where makers dare and dream, and code becomes the world's new gleam.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Smirking Squiggly. Pierce Bogan created specs and plans in his vibe coding segment. That's the next steps that I also want to encourage. Don't do this without a Copilot instructions file. Otherwise, it runs away. It gets a little crazy. Writing prompts and instructions and stacking them isn't just keying things into the text box here. The dream of just key something into the text box and it builds an application for you is not realistic. What is the capital of Germany? It connected and did that. What is your favorite color? And it is executing and coming through. Now, it says it created this function map, but like, it's looking it up, getting that function, and then deciding to call it. It's literally hid the switch so that it could do this. Why doesn't it just call it? Right? Like, do I really need to do this? Because in this example, I didn't. Yeah, the AI is obfuscating how it worked. No. I'm going to try this one more time, and then we're going to move on. Why are you manually executing the function? This should be executed inside. This should be executed by the chat client and not in my code. How about it handle invalid functions, maybe? If it doesn't know, if it doesn't have a function registered, it's not going to try and do that thing. Microsoft extensions dependency injection. Okay. I'm not sure what you're doing there. Where did my other terminals go? Okay, now it's rewriting. New chat message. It removed the functions add. Tools, new AI function factory. That's what I'm looking for right there. And no. Let's stick with Azure OpenAI SDK approach, but use function call equals function definition. Good. Do it. It yanked a bunch more code. So, function definition auto, it moved from here to down here. Okay. The messages collection is read-only, so we need to add messages individually. Sure. It looks like it's not happy using preview packages. It doesn't know what's in the preview packages, is what I'm seeing there. Thank you for the hype train. Much appreciate folks out there subscribing. Much, much appreciate. All right, so now the function call is auto. It should now. It was showing the yeah. All right, so let's open another terminal. Fairy Wings!
Fairy Wings just resubscribed for 80 months. Boop boop.
Boop indeed. How are you doing, my friend? So good to see you. Fairy's been raising money for the past few months for a number of great charities and just killed it. Raising money for MDA and for St. Jude. Thank you so much for helping out with those charities. So let's ask the AI, right? The kind of test simple. What is the capital question? What is the capital of Bulgaria? I don't know. Right? And good. It reports that correctly. What is your favorite color? Doesn't work. This is where I struggle. We need to know when and how to trust the AI. Getting it to generate all of your code for you isn't always going to work. The promise of vibe coding is amazing. But it's not realistic. Really? Really? I copied that. Chuck!
Chuck Beasley just resubscribed for 33 months.
What is the velocity of the unladen swallow? Thank you so much, Chuck. Really appreciate that. Okay. It knows that reference. But it doesn't know how to do that. Like, you were concerned when some of the build vibe coders advocated never looking at the generated code. Yes. Yes. Vibe coding will get you a lot of places. It's really cool to be able to do, and we generated a ton of code here. It doesn't quite do what we want. What it will do that I think is really great, generate a README document that describes how this code works. This is what I really like. That's right. It's great until it's not. And you have to ask the questions because to push it, because it's not necessarily always going to deliver the thing that you want. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you might not get what you want. So it generated a README. And it tells me how it works. And it gives some example usage, some error handling. Looks good. Now let's tell it about the error. Right? When I ask the AI, what is your favorite color? It returns a blank response. Fix this. Right? You need to prompt it. You need to force it. And if you don't know what you're looking at, and you don't write tests, writing tests, I think, are a great jumping off point. There it is again. It hard-coded the function call. What this is telling me is I need to include that hard code function call. I need to put that in there. Because the libraries will not call it directly. And that was an assumption that I had made in adding these and looking at these demos. It does not call it. It doesn't. You don't even, according to this demo code that's here, you don't even have to tell it that it's using those. Right? There's a link to the sample code here. Yeah. Where is it? There was a link to download the sample code, but I don't see it. So I struggle with it. Like, if I have to write that, I'll write it. But that also means that I can't dynamically register MCPs with my applications. I've been trying this for the last hour and it won't. So it's a catch-22. Even if you set the description, It did. It did. Right there. Now, there is a way with Microsoft Extensions AI to put a description on the function, on the method call, to make this appear as a function so that I can pass it in as a tool directly using a different syntax that creates that tool and passes it in. But as we saw, Copilot doesn't know how to do that right either. So I'm struggling. So I already did a keep on this. Let's say convert this to use Microsoft Extensions AI. Yeah, the second way, exactly. And that's the way that I expected it to work, and that's the way that I was not hard coding. That's the way that I was wiring things up inside of Charlie. But it doesn't work. Now, that might be because I was using Ollama, and Ollama doesn't know how to call functions. That could be. But this is a struggle. And let me make these changes. Okay. And it does this Azure Code Gen best practices. I get it. You use semantic kernel, not extensions AI. So there's another bump in the road. Which one should I use? The Azure OpenAI SDK, extensions AI SDK, or semantic kernel? Which one's which? When and how should I use each? Sure. Go ahead and add those things. Go ahead and set that up. While you're doing that, what do you want to do? Sure. Go ahead. Go add more things. And now it's saying, well, I need to fix the issues. There's a point here where I got it into a loop where it started generating new copies of Program CS. I had 5 copies of Program CS that it was laying out there. There it goes. What I think, look. Add OpenAI service, and then it does the null checking down here. Now it's going to go find additional packages. But it's the same one, Microsoft Extensions AI. 950. So, there's something that isn't quite right here. And I don't know what it is. And maybe because this is so new, Copilot is confused about working with it. That could be. That certainly could be. It does not appear to be learning from any mistake. No. Now, something else that I have noticed, see that it wants to install semantic kernel now. What frustrates walks in the most is when we are working on one thing and it decides to work on something else it notices in the code. Yes, and that's where Copilot instructions comes in, right? Copilot instructions.md is a file that you can add in your structure, folder structure, to give it instructions. And one of the things that I think is important to put in there is a bullet somewhere that says Only do the task that you've been requested to do. Otherwise, it'll go and start writing entirely new projects to build a tool that you didn't ask for. Failed to restore NuGet packages. Package version conflict. So, when I notice that it gets into a loop, I start a new chat session. Yes. Also need a bullet saying, please be succinct in your responses. Yes, how you doing there, Fuel Snable? Hello. So, I know a lot of creators out there are worried about AI taking their jobs. I don't like AI that generates images, generates videos, generates sound and music. I don't like those things. Because that's something that clearly a human, an artist, would be creating and working on. And doing a fantastic job with. No response was returned. And now... So, my point in this exercise is you as a developer need to know where you're going. You can provide the AI with a good bit of documentation, and it will help you get there. But know when it's lost. Know when it's not going to get there. We've been asking it to generate this code for more than an hour. If I was on a limited Copilot subscription, this is now costing me significant money. Right? Know when to stop. I'm exaggerating, not exaggerating, but I'm letting it continue instead of stopping because this is clearly something that needs more insight. Probably have to wait for the next month before starting again. Maybe. If I'm out of tokens, maybe. I didn't have to think to beat it into submission. No, I didn't have to at all. It's a human thing until it's been replaced. Yeah. When the AI gets like this, just do it the old-fashioned way and figure it out myself. That's what I mean when I say know when to stop. Sure. Use semantic kernel. I like that it gave me options. That's nice. But you do need to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. Know when to walk away when the dealing's done. That's right. Thank you to the gambling man, Kenny Rogers. Right? So, I'm going to let this spin one more time, and then I'm going to call it there. The other thing to know, though, is that the interactions with other languages, like TypeScript, are more mature. They are. That's the nature of the LLM beast, because there's a lot more open source JavaScript and TypeScript code out there for folks to use. So how do we fix that? How do we work around that? How do we work with that? I don't know yet. I know the .NET team wants to improve the quality of the .NET interactions that are in these models. And I know it's coming. You think you found an issue where VS Copilot fills up your hard drive? I have to kill Visual Studio, then delete VS App local temp directories. Eee! Yeah, report that issue. Now you can run the application and it should work as before, but with the benefits of using semantic kernel's infrastructure. So create function from method, get favorite color. There it is. Chat history. So go ahead, clean up all that junk. Let's see what it did. And invoke kernel functions. And it's not there, right? It's not manually calling the function. It's passing in the definition of the function. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. There it is. Favorite color function. And now wait a minute. Where's it passing that in? President not sure.
President not Zuon just resubscribed for 31 months. Let's go.
Let's go indeed. It defined the favorite color function and it never passed it in. I'll try this again. That makes you think, did I share my thoughts about the new .NET without project thing? I haven't talked about that yet, Frank. What is the capital of Portugal? Portugal. Lisbon. That's correct. What is your favorite color? And it is not going to say blue. Okay. You never connected the favorite color function to the settings sent to the chat completion service. I'd really prefer to dictate some of these things that I'm interacting with this, but what I'm seeing is the dictation. Particularly when you start talking about .NET and C#, doesn't get the dictation right on those. So there it is. It's passing along the tool. I agree. You should. There's a kernel function decoration that I should be able to put up here that has all of that information instead of passing in all this. In the latest version of semantic kernel, we need to pass kernel arguments to pass the tools. Here's the correct way. So, because what I want to do, I want when this gets rolled into the Charlie chatbot, I want Charlie to recognize that you are saying, here's my location, analyze that sentence and geocode that location by using the tool that I've passed into it. Now, I'm at a point where I'm ready to pull out the AI altogether from it and say, you've identified this location, just go geocode that thing. Yeah, the tools need to be registered, so there's the function. And it removed it. It removed it. New tools available. Sure, go ahead. You didn't do the requested task. The favorite color function is not registered with semantic kernel. So help me learn that syntax. Pass these in. Register it. I'm telling you, I want it registered. You need to pass the function to the chat completion service. Let me fix that. Yes, please do. Vibe coding, you keep using this word. I do not think it means what you think it means. I do happen to have that. Right? Where'd it go? I do happen to have that. I have that here somewhere.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Like, add user message. Okay. Execution settings. Now we're changing the prompt execution settings so it's passing in a dictionary, and it still isn't passing in the function. Invoke prompt async automatically includes all registered functions that was created with create function from method. You want to make that interesting? And now it's doing this tool choice auto here. To me, vibe means being happy and in the flow. This code does not compile. It's not this. When I'm in the flow, I'm immediately going from one thing to the next to the next. That's not this. This interrupts my flow. This solves problems. This gets tasks done. If I'm stumped, if I want to generate a little bit of documentation, if I wanted to write tests, this does a phenomenal job writing documentation, generating tests. Because I don't know about you friends out there. Man, I hate writing unit tests. Man, I hate writing unit tests. And we saw earlier how it generates a Playwright test and does a really good job with that. Really good job with that. I like that. But this is literally the second question I asked it to do. It's using latest APIs, and it doesn't know how to do it. And this is where I say we need to learn when to stop, step back, and do it the old-fashioned way. Write the code ourselves. Then we can get it to analyze and report back what's going on there. Now it says that this is more correct now. Let's look at the code. So there's the create function from method. Get required service, auto invoke kernel functions. So it looks like it's in there. Let's give it a try. So I'll .NET run. Why aren't I using version 4.x? Version 4.x of what? There we go. What is the capital of, let's say, Brazil this time, right? We're using a different country each time just to make sure that we get a fresh response. Okay. And let's now ask it, what is your favorite color? Did not execute the function. Did not execute the function. I tested the application by asking, what is your favorite color? And it did not respond with blue. At least by the end of this, you'll know all the capital cities. Right, Marcus? There you go. So we need to create a proper plugin. Kernel plugin factory. Create from type. I've never seen this before. This is interesting, all right? And the code it generated doesn't compile, so it's going to add some using statements. There it decorated with kernel function. There, right? Create plugin, get method, okay. Why am I using the older Claude 3.5? Why not? I can bump it up to... I ran into resource limitations with Claude 4 yesterday. But this leads to the question of, should GitHub Copilot recommend, hey, this model isn't very good at this. Maybe you should use a different model. 3.7 and 4.0 are much higher quality and more expensive. Valid. And I can run Claude locally if I wanted to. Right? So now it looks like it should try and load what's new color functions. What's that? What's that? Where'd that go? It wrote a class and put it down there. Fine. Where'd it go? Import plugin from object, color plugin, and it should auto call. Copilot traffic control. Have a good one, Sean. I need to take off for a meeting here as well. What is the capital of, let's say, Argentina? Okay, good. What is your favorite color? Got it. Now we got it, right? What color do you prefer? Red or blue? Got it. Now it's calling the function. So let's back up and talk this through, because it took a while to get to that point. We asked Copilot to generate just a simple app that would allow us to chat with the AI. It took us 2 hours, about an hour and a half of going around on the same question of, I want you to execute these functions automatically. I don't want to have to interject and say, oh, go call this other function. You should do this automatically because I told you this function exists. Go do that. And the function calling from the direct OpenAI libraries didn't do that. So it rolled over and it used semantic kernel. So we're learning that semantic kernel is going to provide these capabilities with a much more mature API to interact with those features. I get it. But this is where we need to learn to step back, reevaluate, and then step forward. Maybe we should have done a search on just Copilot Microsoft Com and say, hey, what API, what library should I be using to do these things? I started off asking it I wanted to chat with Azure OpenAI. I didn't tell it I wanted semantic kernel. I didn't tell it what library to use at all. But it eventually rolled over and said, oh, I need to go get semantic kernel. And it took a while to get there. For us as developers, having that grounding is important to help you steer Copilot to get the solution you want. And if you don't, you're gonna spin your wheels. Marcus suggests it's probably best to start off in ask mode. Sure. Ask it questions. What libraries should I be using for these? Can you give me some documentation about that? Take some of that content, turn it into prompts and specifications, and then tell it to generate the code with agent mode. Totally. Totally. Copilot is excellent at generating documentation. It's excellent at inferring purpose from our code. We need to learn how to grow and harness these capabilities better. Because if you just step into it and you don't know where you want to go, and you don't give it some guide rails, some guardrails, it's going to go off the track, and you're going to get lost for a while. You're not going to feel productive, and feels wrong, because you're also spending a lot of tokens to do that. So that's where I wanted to go today. We're going to spend more time tomorrow diving back into SharpSite, bringing what we've learned here, having it do more, and growing and building SharpSite out. I want to refactor how SharpSite works with Playwright so we get some better tests out there. I want to set up and get back into our database initialization capabilities, and I think Copilot is going to do a much better job helping us with that. But for now, I've got to go. I've got meetings and things that are coming up here with the friends at work that I need to get to, and I'm planning and working on some more great content about .NET Aspire 9.3 and future versions. All right? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure writing code with you. Let me see who else is streaming on the big Twitch TV network that I can get you connected to. Looking around the horn. Oh my gosh, our friend Layla Codes It is live, working in Unity. Oh, that's so cool. Doing some game development. So let's set up a raid over to Layla Codes It. Thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do some coding back on the SharpSite application. We're going to bring some more Copilot capabilities, set up some prompts, some specifications, so that we get better generated code faster and more productively. And hopefully, we'll also generate some tests in a better way to go along with the project. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube, there's lots of great videos on the channel down here and over here. Go check those out. And if you're watching on Twitch, get ready to say hi to our friend Layla. Have a great rest of your day. I wish you good health and good coding. Take care.